Hello, I'm Anand Naidu in Washington. The main story is brought to you by Al Jazeera. The main opposition party in the Kurdish region of northern Iraq claims there's been widespread fraud in the region's elections. Polls were opened for an extra hour on Saturday because some voters were unable to find their names on electoral lists. Results won't be known for several days. The ballots have to be taken to Baghdad to be counted. 7 Taliban fighters armed with suicide vests and rifles launched a coordinated attack on government buildings in eastern Afghanistan. It happened in the city of KHOST. 6 of the fighters were killed by security forces while the remaining gunman blew himself up. The attack comes just 4 weeks before Afghanistan's presidential election. Protesters across the world staged a, quote, global day of action on Saturday, calling on the Iranian government to halt what demonstrators have described as a clampdown on dissent. Backed by human rights groups, thousands took to the streets in more than 80 cities, including Paris, Moscow, Berlin and Tokyo. The protesters are demanding the release of hundreds of people detained during the unrest, which followed Iran's June presidential election. For a second day running, ousted Honduran leader Manuel Zelaya teased his supporters and a watching world by going to the Nicaragua-Honduras border, ostensibly to make his often promised comeback. Zelaya has been living in exile for almost a month since being forced from power in June. The deposed president and his convoy arrived at a rural border crossing with Nicaragua on Saturday. Zelaya says he simply didn't have enough support at the border to avoid being arrested by Honduran forces. The Colombian military claims to have killed at least 16 suspected guerrillas in 2 days of clashes. The country's defense minister says troops confronted rebels belonging to FARC in the central region of Meta. 1 soldier also died in the fighting. Russian security forces say they've killed 8 separatist fighters in the volatile south of the country. 6 fighters were killed in a siege in a village in Chechnya. The country's interior minister says the suspected gunmen barricaded themselves in a house as security forces conducted a search operation. 2 other fighters were killed in neighboring Ingushetia. And those are the top stories. Don't forget, you can keep up to date with all the news on our website, and you'll find that at aljazeera.net/English.